Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Tulane University. And thank you for coming out this Sunday afternoon for what is a very, very special event for Tulane University and for New Orleans. In case you don't realize it, today is June 25th, 2006. 10 months ago, life changed for all of us here in New Orleans. And we have spent much of that time talking about those changes and how we will rebound from Hurricane Katrina as we approach the first anniversary in 60 days. But we're also headed toward another anniversary that changed not only our lives here in New Orleans, but the lives of people around the world. Coming up in less than 3 months is the 5th anniversary of September 11th, 2001, the terrorist attacks on the United States. Think of what has changed since then. The way we protect ourselves, the way we travel, the way we as Americans view ourselves in the world, and the way the world views us as Americans. Our experiences at the hands of Islamic extremists also made us begin looking at issues whose resolution we have all taken for granted since our country was founded. That is, the separation of church and state. The relationship between religion and democracy, and the degree to which religious conviction informs public policy and diplomacy, or whether it should at all. A recent book by our guest today provides a refreshing and frank discussion of those topics. Her viewpoint comes out of her own experiences. As a teenager fleeing Czechoslovakia with her family as the communists took power, as a member of the National Security Council, a representative to the United Nations, and president of the Center for National Policy, as the nation's 64th U.S. Secretary of State under President Bill Clinton, and finally, in her current role as a faculty member at Georgetown University's School of Foreign Service. I'm speaking, of course, of Dr. Madeleine Albright, the highest-ranking woman in the history of the United States government. During her tenure as Secretary of State, Dr. Albright influenced American policy in Bosnia and the Middle East, reinforced American alliances, and promoted American trade, business, and environmental standards abroad. She has also earned a reputation as a straight talker. In her new book, The Mighty and the Almighty, Reflections on America, God, and World Affairs, shows her at her outspoken best. I had an opportunity a few minutes ago to spend 10 minutes with the Secretary, and you can always tell a person's true character in the first 10 minutes of meeting them. And I can tell you we're in for a special treat today. Madam Secretary is warm, charming, and interesting, and I'm delighted to have her in New Orleans and at Tulane. Please join me in welcoming the former Secretary of State, Dr. Madeleine Albright.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, President Cowan. I was wondering if anybody was going to be here on a Sunday afternoon, so thank you very much. I'm very glad to see my college classmate here, Jackie. Good to see you. I feel the same way about you in the first 10 minutes. Thank you. I think we understood each other right away, and I am very, very pleased to be here with everybody. I want to begin by thanking the sponsors of these series, including the 4 distinguished local universities and the Aspen Institute, which is headed by my friend Walter Isaacson, a native of this city and a member of Tulane's board of directors, and I'm very pleased that I'm on the board of the Aspen Institute. This is the first time that I've been to New Orleans since last fall. I have come on a regular basis for a variety of reasons over the years. When Katrina hit, I was in the middle of writing my new book, dealing with religion and U.S. foreign policy, and I couldn't help but think of everyone down here and the words to the 69th Psalm. Save me, O God, for I sink in deep mire, where there is no standing. I am come into deep waters where the floods overflow me. At the time, I had no doubt that this city would recover and rebuild, but I worried and still worry about how long it will take and how safe it will be. And none of us have stopped grieving about how much has been lost that can never be restored, and we mourn the irreplaceable dead and feel solidarity with those whose homes and possessions have been destroyed. I had an amazing tour this morning for 2.5 hours, and I must say that I was stunned. We are also concerned about changes in the identity of this special place. Globalization has done much to homogenize our nation and the world, so we can travel almost anywhere and still see the same airport lounges and restaurants and coffee shops and stores. New Orleans is an antidote to all of that. New Orleans is not like any place else. It's not just a city, it's a civilization, a fine and unique blend of cultures whose inhabitants have developed their own traditions and style. And when I travel overseas, I often hear complaints about the export of things American. And there are those who don't like our TV shows or movies, our clothing, or the all-American cuisine found in our chain stores and malls, consisting primarily of tacos and sushi, souvlaki, and pizza. Nearly everyone complains about America, but I have yet to hear anyone complain about jazz. What happened in New Orleans last year had a deep and sobering effect on how America views itself, and it also had an important impact on how our nation is viewed around the world. It sent a message that no matter how powerful we may be, there are forces more powerful still, and that Americans are not immune to hardship and suffering. This should remind us how much we have in common with people from other lands and how much that reality should be reflected in our foreign policy. The writer E.B. White once complained that when I wake up in the morning, I can't decide whether to enjoy the world or to improve the world, which makes it difficult to plan the day. I don't know about you, but there's nothing I enjoy more than trying to improve the world. The question I constantly struggle with is how best to do that. The answer is, we might suppose, something I should have learned years ago in college. Now, I have to admit that I came of age in an earlier age. In fact, I tell my students now that it was roughly halfway between the invention of the handheld BlackBerry and the discovery of fire. Right? Back then, the information age was just beginning, and I don't know how many of you remember, but our phones still had cords, and our mail still had stamps, and our camera still had film, and when we found the web, it was not by clicking on a mouse, but by dusting in the corner. But whether you're a freshman in college or have long since graduated, the answer to how best to improve the world can be extremely difficult either to teach or to comprehend. For although education is all about the search for truth, there are many kinds of truth. In mathematics and science, knowledge accumulates. Theorems are built on top of theorems and laws on top of laws. We discover that the earth revolves around the sun and never again think of that star as a flaming chariot streaking across the sky. We learn that water boils when it's hot, that matter condenses when it's cold, and that if we adjust